So, hello everyone. This is Youssef, Laaraj, teacher of English, and there's a new lesson on how to write a summary. This lesson is made specifically for students in the CPGE classes, but students at the first and second year university can also benefit from it. So we begin by first defining what is a summary. A summary is a condensed version of a longer passage. So the first thing you should all know is that a summary is a version of the original material. Here we have an example of a long passage. It may be an essay, it may be an article, it may be a book even. However, you can summarize anything. You can summarize an event, a film or video, a lesson, whatsoever. And through the summary, you give the reader of an article, of a lecture, a clear and objective picture of the original lecture or text. So from these two features, we deduce two main things. First, the summary is condensed. It means that it's a brief account of the main points of a material. And second, it must be very objective. It means your subjectivity should be left out. Now, why do we need to summarize? There are a couple of reasons why we summarize. One of them is that summaries are made for learning. So in most cases, you find it's a requirement in your academic or in your educational programs, especially CPGE classes. Also, university students majoring in English, they have to summarize. You can summarize also for the sake of sharing what you have learned, what you have seen, what you have heard, whatsoever. So you want to share that with the public who have missed, or people who didn't attend, didn't watch something. We can also, or we summarize also to improve our reading skills. So through summarizing, you do skimming, which means reading for the first time to just have a general idea, and then you scan. So you do scanning, which is you seek or you search for the details of the text. So this improves our reading skills. It helps also with vocabulary skills. You develop your vocabulary repertoire when you're doing the summaries. So our student paraphrase, they are altering vocabulary and grammatical structures, so the vocabulary gets richer. Summarizing also enhances and improves our critical thinking skills. And the main mechanism which develops critical thinking is when you're trying to distinguish and decide which information is major and which information is a detail and subordinate. So distinguishing between a main and unnecessary information is a way of developing our critical thinking. And critical thinking is a key concept and requirement or skill that students at secondary phase and preparatory phase and university should develop. Now, how do you go about summarizing? What are the strategies or what are the steps you can follow to write a summary? There are a couple of ways you can summarize, but I will suggest some steps or some instructions you can follow to do this. So So after first reading, highlight the key points, the key words and phrases. You can have a highlighter or you can underline. You also try to find out a concluding sentence, an idea which concludes the text, and you highlight it. You outline each paragraph in the margin. So in the margin next to each paragraph, you write the summary of this paragraph, a sentence or two which summarize what the paragraph is saying. When it comes to summarizing, you have to write a sentence which must be clear and should contain the following ingredients or elements: a text title, author, and the main idea. So the first sentence of your summary should include these main components and the main idea of the text. So title, author, and the main idea of the text or the material you have dealt with. It may be a reading or a motion picture or a listening whatsoever. So we have a main idea of the whole thing, and we have main ideas of each section. Then a last sentence that wraps up your summary. Well, so what are the skills you require or you need to make a summary? First, you should have the ability to distinguish between a main idea from a detail, as we said before this. This is one aspect of critical thinking. However, vocabulary plays a vital role in this. So if you have a rich vocabulary, you can be able to identify what are the main ideas and what are the ideas you should not include in your summary. Note taking is a major skill that you will use or you'll have to use when you're summarizing. So you have to take notes. Also annotation, which is kind of note taking, next to each. So one note taking is, it helps you recall the information because you're most likely forget the what you have seen or you have read after a short while. So it's a good skill that helps you retain the information. It's also a good skill to prepare for, especially when you're short of time and you're preparing for exams. So it helps for memorizing. The same thing applies for annotation, which is kind of, as I said, kind of note taking. So when you're adding notes and giving some extra explanations or comments next to some paragraphs or some ideas. Paraphrasing is a key skill that you have to use. Paraphrasing, it means expressing the meaning of something, an idea or information using different words and different structures. So it's a kind of rewarding, and it is a skill you can develop through practice. Okay, so however, if you're not able to paraphrase, you will be obliged to use exact wordings in the text, and this will be counted as kind of plagiarism, and the examiner will, you're given the impression that you're not able to summarize or to say the ideas in your own words. So it's kind of cheating. Here are some useful verbs and expressions you can employ to summarize. When you're summarizing, you usually refer to the author of the text, the filmmaker, the producer of the material, but most likely a student at CPGE, they have to summarize texts. Sometimes text in different formats. Sometimes they will have pictures or posters. So you can say argue, assert, claim, contend, maintain, insist, explain, point out, illustrate. So there are a couple of verbs that we call them reporting verbs. Yet the use of these verbs should not be random. I mean, your choice of the verbs should be purposeful, and I mean the verb should convey the what the author is adopting. I mean the style of the text, whether it's a persuasive or it's explanatory, expository, whatsoever. So if the text, for example, is making a claim and defending it, you can use verbs like argue, contend, maintain, insist. However, if the material is just giving information and facts, you can say reveal or explain, indicate, illustrate, or show. Here are other expressions. The author goes on to say that. The article or author further states that. Author also states or maintains or argues that. Remember to vary your referring to the author. So sometimes use the author, sometimes use their name. So there are different ways to avoid repetition. However, you don't have the right to use the author first name alone. You can either use the author's last name or his or her full name. Now, how do you know that your summary abides by and complies with the main requirements and that it has fulfilled the standards that are required? So first, you make sure you have included all the important points. Make sure also that you leave your opinions out. As we said before, summary. You don't have the right to interfere. You must be distant. Use your own words. This is summary. This is paraphrasing. Use your own words. So copying words and expressions or full sentences from the text, as I said, you give the impression to the examiner that you're not able to paraphrase. And make sure, especially as CPGE students, make sure it is one paragraph. So make sure that you end the lines. If you don't complete the lines and you go back to a new line, it will be counted as a new paragraph, and it is considered a serious mistake that can undermine the quality of your work. Make sure also that there are no examples and details. Here's an example of a summary that applies or where applies all the features and the requirements we have mentioned before. So, in sex, lies and conversation, why it is so hard for men and women to talk to each other. Linguist Deborah Tannen suggests that the problem of communication in marriage can be solved if couples learn that men and women have different styles of communication. Tannen notes that that research shows that women create intimacy in relationships through looking at one another, sharing similar problems, and interrupting but making supportive comments or sounds. However, she reports that this type of communication style often makes men feel threatened and like men are not listening to them. Instead, Tannen reports that men, because of their need to relate inside the hierarchy in the same-sex relationships, see support in a conversation as telling someone the problem is not so bad, or finding a way to fix it. Women, Tannen says, feel that sort of communication is intimidating and sympathetic. What is the solution? According to Tannen, teaching men and women each other as conversational styles can help people understand that the other person is really trying to communicate and head off misunderstandings, which can strengthen marriage relationships and prevent divorce. This is a fairly good summary. So it complies with and fulfills all the requirements necessary for a good summary. It is brief, clear, concise. It respects. It is accurate, use of accurate language and vocabulary. It is one paragraph. It uses punctuation in a very efficient ways. As we said, the first sentence of a summary contains 3 elements. The title, so we have sex, lies and conversation. Why it is so hard for men and women to talk to each other. This is the title of the work. Linguist, Deborah Tannen. So here we have the author. And the third element is the main idea of the whole work, the whole essay. Problems of communication in marriage can be solved if couples learn that men and women have different styles of communication. So we have one sentence which expresses clearly what the whole essay says. That's why I put different colors there to show the different parts of this summary. What you see in purple are the reporting expressions and verbs. So we have here the first one, we have suggests, note, reports, says, and according to 10. You see here the title I underlined. Second is the name of the author. And third, we have the main idea. These are the 3 components you should have in a summary, or in the first sentence of the summary. Then, after that, you give all the important information in the whole essay. All the information, they work or function as supporting ideas for the main idea you mentioned before. These are the references I have used in this video. I hope that you liked it and you find it interesting. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have any questions, remarks, comments, please do not hesitate to leave them. Don't forget to like the video and share it with other people who may be interested in this. Thank you very much.